First of all, I wanted to thank you for inviting me to speak to your chapter today. I'm so happy to have this opportunity, particularly because the High Point Public Library now has a special relationship with FamilySearch. And as a library user, you can benefit from that relationship. But more about that at the end. Uh, I'm hoping to keep you in suspense and alert until that time. Let's see if it works. In my opinion, FamilySearch is the best possible digital site for the serious family historian. Better even than Ancestry.com, though I think the two work best together. The best news is it's absolutely free to all comers. It's just astounding how far we've come when I think back to how different things were over 30 years ago. In those days, almost all the research I needed to do required travel. Every week, I'd get into my car and go down to the local library to look at indexed abstracts, files, and family history books. Maybe to a library in the next county where the collections were more suited to the research I was doing. Every month or two, a trip down to the state archives in the state library in Raleigh or to a courthouse in some remote part of the state would be necessary. Sometimes a long trip would yield nothing at all. Other times I'd go home elated to have found something and think about it all the way. Now, I don't want to diminish the need for travel in your research today. It's still necessary. You will miss a lot of records if you never venture beyond the digital. You'll miss a lot of time-saving indexing if you don't look at the printed abstracts of deeds, wills, court records, etc. And you'll miss the advice, of course, and the friendly guidance of knowledgeable professionals in libraries and archives. Furthermore, the vast majority of records remain undigitized, and even more are unindexed, except in the traditional sense. These are often the sources that expand what we know about our ancestors as personalities, and that can prove relationships that are difficult. But the core records in a lot of places are digitized now. A lot of the most straightforward research can be accomplished at home, and the best place for one-stop shopping online is FamilySearch. A couple of decades ago, when I thought about the Latter-day Saints resources, what came to mind was a set of microfiche in my local library. That represented the current edition of the International Genealogical Index. The IGI was a collection of second-hand data points, indexed by names and separated into state-level or county-level collections. These factoids were drawn from the research that Mormons had conducted on their own families, or which they had indexed and extracted from records collected on microfilm from around the world. Very hit or miss, very spotty on accuracy, since all of it was mediated and secondhand. There was no direct access to the original record on which it was based, except perhaps for a reference to the film or batch and sheet number in the family history library in Salt Lake City from which it was derived. Like any family trees, the trees generated by LDS folk tended to be inaccurate and incomplete. If I wanted to know more, I might have to go down to the local Family History Center attached to a Mormon congregation during their limited hours of operation every week and request to order a film of original records from the Family History Library. In a few weeks, the film would come, I'd be notified, and go back to look at it over several weeks before the film had to be returned by mail to Salt Lake. When the internet arrived and the first versions of FamilySearch appeared, it was really just a digitized version of the IGI, just as undependable as before but easier to search. Then later they layered on a digitized ordering system, so suddenly you had home access to the catalog of the Family History Library, and you could find the film you wanted to order, pay your fees with a credit card, tell the site which Family History Center you wanted to use. You would then get an email when it arrived. When you traveled to the center, you could not only view your ordered film, you could also get access to digital subscriptions offered by the LDS Church and the Family History Society of Utah, like Ancestry. And you could even pay a little more and keep your favorite films in the permanent collection of your local center so you and others could continue to use them over the long haul without reordering. But within the last several years, a revolution has taken place. All that microfilm that LDS people had imaged from archives and other official repositories around the world have begun to be digitized, turned into digital images like a film strip that can be viewed online. Just think of it as the digital version of microfilm. That digitization is no longer manual. Automated machinery is accomplishing it at a faster rate than ever before. In fact, the entire project, covering millions of reels of film, is likely to be finished within a year or two. The library is no longer offering film for loan to family history centers. Until the project is done, you can either wait for the digitized version to appear on the site, or you can go to Salt Lake yourself or hire someone to do it for you. On top of the digitization effort, FamilySearch has developed a relationship with genealogists around the world who have local expertise and are willing to volunteer their time to index record sets and batches. Sometimes they form special relationships with family history societies to accomplish indexing projects, and you too can become a contributor. You can sign up to index batches of images or check the indexing work of others. Up to 3 people could be involved in reading any given name and indexing it if the first 2 people disagree. So there is a kind of quality control process which isn't true on Ancestry, except for the indexed family search databases that Ancestry taps into. Once indexing is complete on a particular project, a database goes live and we can all search it. Now, that indexing may not be for every name, maybe just the most important names. A baptismal record might be indexed for just the parents and the child, not the sponsors. An estate record for just the name of the deceased person, not the countless others mentioned in the file, including the heirs. A marriage license might be indexed for the parties to the marriage and maybe their parents, but not the officiant or the witnesses or the person who applied for the license, etc. Also, some record groups may have been indexed for some period of years or some portion of the alphabetical files and not others. One digitized film in a series might have been indexed, but all the others might not. It is a work in progress. Anyone can join the indexing effort, however, contributing as much or as little time as they have available. The theory is that many hands make light and quick work, and you can specify which localities are most aligned to your talents and which languages and scripts fit your skills and experience. Index projects are gathered under the Records category on FamilySearch. But the vast array of unindexed film that have been digitized are also available to browse on some level through the Catalog category, just as you would if you were in the courthouse or an archive. For that unindexed mass of material, you can use the handwritten indexes in the front or the back of books to navigate or just search periods of years in the record group you think might contain the records you seek. The beauty of this, if you were in an archive doing this work, you'd be limited by the times and days the archive is available and all the restrictions they place on you. But this is work that can be done from home at your convenience, even in the middle of the night when many of us do our best work. So have at it. It is a beautiful thing. There are other resources on FamilySearch. You see some of them here. There are digitized books that are either out of copyright protection or whose authors have permitted them to be digitized. Some of them can be viewed at home. Some might have to be viewed at the Family History Center only. The Family History Library owns almost every genealogy ever written, but don't expect them all to be digitized and accessible on FamilySearch. But the older ones probably will be. Then too, there is the FamilySearch tree. It's not your granddaddy's LDS resource. This is a New World family tree to which any and all of us can contribute. Not just LDS folks. Theoretically, it's just one big tree. There should be only one record for each individual who ever lived on a genealogical timescale. And it's up to you and me and all the other genealogists around the world to come to some consensus on the facts for each individual. That means you can go in and add your immediate ancestors and look for existing records for more remote people in your family trees, whose records probably already exist in this database and to whom you can attach your lineage. Living people in your line remain invisible to anyone but you. You can create new records for remote people who aren't in the database yet as well. There will be some of those. There will be duplicate records for the same individual that need to be merged into one, and that's something you can also do. It's up to you to make corrections to erroneous data points about your ancestors and to merge individuals who are the same person. And not only that, you need to document why you're making changes in a way that is persuasive to others. The site requires you to give reasons for changes as you make them, and even attach record images or summaries as justification. If you don't do this, you can still change what you see, but someone who was there before you is likely to come and return back everything to the way it was before. The last person who makes a change trumps everyone else who has gone before, and there's very little intervention by the project managers. Appealing to them tends to be ineffective, so it can be very contentious. I'll admit, the thought behind this concept is in the right place. But if you ask me, it's sort of a utopian fantasy to believe that facts and evidence will ultimately triumph and that collaboration always leads to the truth. I wish that were the case, but it has not been my experience, especially of late. I also like the idea that the tree organizes us into one big family. That hits home because, yes, every human shares 99% of their DNA with every other person. But ego, emotion, and irrationality are often ascendant in human interaction. That said, you can get some good hints on some of your family mysteries with Family Search Tree. But treat it with a grain of salt, as you did the older versions. I do wish, though, that there was some way to view all the past changes on any one historical individual so you could follow the evolution of a record. The truth might have been proposed in the past and then effaced by a later editor. I would also like to point out the Family Search Wiki and the topical videos under Learning Center, which you can find under the little question mark in the top right corner under Help and Help Center. The videos are often excellent and produced by subject experts. You can get quick snapshots of how to perform research in various places, how to use various kinds of records, and details on various kinds of research technique, and it's all free. So, if you wanted to learn how to read Old German script, for example, you can search for it, and there are 3 videos for that with a noted expert, Dr. Fritz Jungling. How great is that? The Family Search Research Wiki is a written resource on localities and data sets. It's also in this part of the website. You can look up multiple topics and just read what other people have written. It's a group effort like Wikipedia, basically. Whenever I want to learn what records exist for a particular place, where they are located, what digital resources linked to that place exist, and where, what addresses to use for various repositories, I go right to the wiki. It's better for some places than others. It depends on who has been contributing and what they know. It's really based on the Red Book for genealogists, and then editors who are moderated come in and layer on additional information. There's some good maps too. There is a relatively new feature too, and there's a link across the top for it called Memories. This search function allows you to look for individuals and places through all the images and documents users have uploaded to Family Search Tree. You might find pictures of tombstones, transcriptions of obituaries or other news articles, photographs, typed family traditions, sound files, or even record images that people have found on Family Search and attached to individuals in their tree. And here you can go to this one place and search for all that stuff in one location. I bet you're eager to explore right now, but first you have to establish an account. Don't worry, it's free. To do that, you go up to the top right-hand corner of the homepage and click on Create an Account. Here, you'll proceed through a series of steps, providing a name, birth date, gender, email address, and then you'll establish a username and password and verify through your email account. Be sure to write down the username and password, because if you're like me, you already have dozens to keep track of. Once you sign in, you can choose to remain that way up to 2 weeks. Now, note, Even if you're working from an LDS Family History Center where you will have to go to get access to some records, you are required to sign in to your personal account first. The system automatically picks up on where you are through the IP address at that site and then provides the appropriate level of access. Across the banner of the site at the top, you have direct access to search the worldwide family search tree or to search uploaded material through memories. You can access any indexing projects you've agreed to do as a volunteer. For the demonstration, I'm going to focus on the search aspect because that's where you will be doing most of your research. In the drop-down menu that appears when you click on Search, you can access digitized books, the family tree, or the research wiki. Under the little bell in the top right corner, you can visit the FamilySearch blog and find out about new features and new records that are being added to the site, and believe me, they're being added all the time. You can even sign up to get notifications about changes from the blog in your email. But obviously, for other purposes, we just want to focus on the original records that are here. All the index databases, and remember, that doesn't mean complete indexing, are under records and grouped by collection title. Many of these databases are duplicated on Ancestry.com, but here you're not paying for access. Isn't that lovely? You can search by location, by name, or by the name of a collection if you remember it. I generally navigate by choosing a region of the world as I hover over this map to the right. There are 11 regions in all, and no, there is not one for outer space, for those ancestors you swear were beamed down from the mothership. When you click on the part of the map you want, a submenu shows up of jurisdictions within that continent or region. So when I click on the United States, a list of states and territories appears. I choose North Carolina. Get this screen. I can search here on the right by the personal name. I can look for related topics in the wiki or look at videos about the jurisdiction available in the Learning Center on the left. What I generally do is go down to the list of databases on the right and expand them so I can see all of them. Beneath that, databases are repeated but grouped by the topic or type of records they cover. There are 115 separate databases for North Carolina, although some of them are nationwide and will appear under almost any state. Note that each collection tells how many images are involved and when it was last updated to the right. A reminder that some of these databases are incompletely indexed and thus are in work in progress. There are some great marriage collections for North Carolina here. All the estate files for all the counties have their own database. The Revolutionary War pay vouchers issued by the state and returned by claimants are here. All the wills and bound books related to probate are in another database. There are military records databases like state-level pension files for Civil War soldiers. Each of these is searchable on some level, but not completely. I know I keep saying that, but it's important. Let's choose the Revolutionary War pay vouchers database, a key kind of proof for service for North Carolina patriots. These are all indexed by payee name. So I'll look for my ancestor Bernard Kate, who was an adult at the time of the Revolution. The beautiful thing about searching any of these databases is it doesn't really matter how much you spell or how you spell anything when you search on the site or what filters you use. Although you can click on the boxes next to the names for an exact match as to how you spelled it. The results include automatically anything similar to the name you're looking for. But also, you can browse into any of the collections as well. In most databases, indexing can be faulty or incomplete. So if you can't find something by plugging in a name, you can search manually instead. But I plug my name, and sure enough, there is a voucher. I'll click on the one I want. The indexed information to the left and my image link is to the right. I can click on it, and here it is. Now I'll click on the image itself. Now, if I look to the top left, I can see that this is on a film that covers the payee names Kerrigan Edward to Chadwick Josiah. What is indexed from the record and therefore searchable is at the bottom. The citation information is under the Information tab in that same part of the screen, which is important for DAR applications, I know. You have to cite your source. The lovely image is in the middle here. It's image number 790 of 1,012 images on this reel. If there is an image you might want to return to, it pays to write down that number and the film name because you can easily get back to it that way. If I want to move directly to another image, I can type whatever image number I want in that field, press enter, and it will take me directly to that image. Or I can click on the arrows on either side to go forward or backward one image at a time. So I went forward one, and in this case, I can see what's on the back side of this little slip of paper. On the left, over the image field, is a zoom in and out feature, plus or minus. You can see it. The minus is highlighted and it says zoom out. It zooms and refocuses automatically. And on this toolbar, there's also an option to change to thumbnail view. Looks like a little matrix of squares, which reduces the size and shows all the images around about. The image I'm on is highlighted by a little yellow box. I could then click on another image in the same vicinity and then zoom in directly to it. Or I could click, hold, and drag over the surface and move the thumbnails to a different part of the film where I can click another image. Now back to the original voucher image. There's also a full screen option, which is the bracket set at the bottom of that left-hand panel of tools. When I click there, the image gets big and fills the entire screen. I can click on the information down arrow and that bar with the indexing information and source go away. Now I have a true full screen view of this record. I can zoom in and read it. It says my ancestor was due 400 pounds currency for his contribution to the war effort, issued at Hillsborough the 19th of February 1782. Wow, I can join the SAR now. But first, I have to capture the image for my application. Now, in the right top corner of the view screen, there are some more key viewing, printing, and downloading tools. In order to use them, I do have to get out of this full screen mode. So, click the brackets on the left side toolbar and toggle back from full screen to normal view. If you click print, you will only get what you see in the frame at the current moment. It's not the best way to get the image you want. But before you print or download, you can also improve the image. Click on Tools, and it gives you some options for lightening or darkening the image, or improving the contrast, or switching, as I have here, to a negative view of the image, white writing on a black background. Some of these images, as you might imagine, can be very murky, so that inverted image tool is helpful sometimes. You also have the option to keep your improvements in contrast or brightness for the entire film if you're browsing through by clicking Apply on a little box that pops up that you can't see right now, or not by clicking Cancel. But never fear, if you make a change to how the image looks, you can always adjust it later. Finally, you can see that there's also a little turnabout tool there where you can turn the image to the left counterclockwise 90 degrees or 180 degrees or 270 degrees or 360 degrees. Each time you turn, or you click rather, on that turn tool, 90 degrees to the left, but it does not turn right at all or clockwise. Now, the best way to capture an image is not to print, but to use the download tool in the top right corner. When you do that, open it with your photo viewer program. Here you can improve the image as you wish, for instance, cutting out all the black in this case with cropping. You can choose the name and location for the file and save it or print from the photo viewer. Now, the download tool, I'm sorry to say, isn't consistent. Sometimes it does fail, but that is usually only a temporary state of affairs. Write down the image number and the film you got it from and come back later and try again. If you do, it will probably work the second time. Sometimes I have to take a screenshot instead of downloading, and there are some collections that are restricted and will not allow a direct print or download to be made. Again, in that case, go full screen, zoom in on the image so that it fills the screen as much as possible, and then take a screenshot with that key on everybody's computer that says print screen or something like that. It's usually in the upper right section of your keyboard. You can then paste it into a blank document by clicking Control V for paste after copying, and save it from there as an image file. And then you can edit it, just like I'm doing here with your picture viewer, however you like, and save it. Now, if you restrict yourself to searching the search records part of the site, you'll come up with some lovely things from all these databases for sure, but you'll be missing out on a wealth of resources from all the digitized records that haven't been indexed, and that would be very sad for you. So be sure to check out the search catalog option from that initial down menu we were exploring on the home page as well. Remember, the name of the game will be searching by browsing as you would in an archive or a courthouse basement, not by plugging in an individual's name into a search box. You'll just be doing that online instead of in person, maybe in your fuzzy bunny slippers late at night instead of trying to fool courthouse staff by dressing as a lawyer, hoping they won't guess that you're an annoying genealogist and refuse to help you. Now, here is your catalog search box. You can search by place to find out what the Family History Library holds for every locality in the world, both in print and on microform. There are also ways to search by the title of a book or film, by the author, or by the subject or keyword. If you have a if you have a film number, you can go directly to that reel with that number. You may know that the Family History Library devotes entire floors to microfilm, which are numbered sequentially by reel within a regional collection, millions of them. That is where the number comes from. Now that film is being converted to digital. The reels are being retired and the microfilm equipment is becoming redundant. I usually search the catalog by locality, however, and it is done in a specific way. Enter the country first, put a comma in, then the state or province, a comma, finally the county or district name, and maybe another comma. You might enter a city or hamlet after that, but usually not. So if I want to find out what they have for my mother's ancestral county, I'll type in United States, comma, South Carolina, comma, Marlboro. You have to spell everything out, no abbreviations. And if I'm a little off, the smart feature will usually suggest the right answer, and I can just click on it and it populates the field automatically. And then I can click search, and you get a list of categories of records they hold for that county out to the right here. There it is. You can see there is a church category, cemetery, guardianship, land and property, probate, taxation, vital records, etc. Remember, the individual records, including printed materials, which they may be copyright protected, so don't expect everything here to be digitized. That copyrighted stuff won't be, generally. But when a branch of government or some other historical institution like a church is the author, it may very well have been digitized. So I'll click on the court records for Marlboro to see what they have under that. And there are 8 items, as you see here. Now, like I was saying, there is a book by Brent Holcomb on Minutes of the County Court, 1786 to 1789. It's not going to be digitized. But there are lots of other items created by county government agencies. Those agencies are the authors: the Court of Ordinary, the Court of General Sessions, the Court of Common Pleas, the County Court, which Holcomb used to make his book, the Court of Equity. Those are all public records which may have been digitized, so I'll click on one of them to show you. Here is the record for the Court of Common Pleas journals. Above is the description. You see it was originally on 4 reels of microfilm. Now go down to the bottom of the record and you'll see that there are 5 individual subrecords covering from 1838 to 1910, and you choose the time period you're interested in. Note it's going to be a manual search, just as I indicated before, apart from any indexes contained in the records themselves. On each line of film there is, at the far right, a format link or icon. In this case, it looks like a camera. That means you have free access to look at the digitized images from home. Now that icon could also look like a little reel of microform, or it could look like a camera with a key on top. If it looks like a reel, the film has not been digitized. It's only available on film in Salt Lake City. If it has a camera with a key, it means you have to go to a family history center at an LDS church to see it during their hours of operation, which may be 15 to 20 hours a week on 2 or 3 different days. There's one LDS Family History Center in Greensboro and another in Winston-Salem, but unfortunately they're still closed to visitors due to COVID right now. Why would reels be closed to you from home? Because of licensing agreements. When LDS folks made these films, they had to sign agreements about how widely they could be accessed, and there are just some jurisdictions that wouldn't allow use outside of an LDS facility. There are some states, for example, like Virginia, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Indiana, who just don't want you to have free access from anywhere to their records. Or they may grant general access, but there may be particular categories of records that they want to restrict to the LDS Center. They will allow access under the supervision of staff there, or library staff. The same for the ability to print or download records on occasion. But I've already given you a workaround for that. Now, these South Carolina films are digitized and freely accessible. How do I get in? By clicking on the little camera. And when you do, here's what you see. A bunch of little thumbnail images with an image number field in the top left corner that you can change like before. The image where you are is highlighted in a yellow box in thumbnail view. You can use arrow keys to go forward and backward one image at a time, or type the image number you want and enter to go directly to it. Remember, an image number is not a page number. If you know the page number you want in this book in advance, often you will, you'll have to make an initial stab at the image number that corresponds to the page number. But remember, there are 2 numbered pages to an image lots of the time. And you have to take into account any preliminary images like the title card or the certificate of authenticity, or any preliminary unpaginated index pages, any repeat images made by the person making the microfilm when the first take was unsatisfactory. So it's just an initial guess. And then you work from there to find the page that you want. Eventually you get there. In thumbnail view, I can also move all the images up and down by clicking and dragging within this frame. When I find the image I want, I click on it or navigate to it and zoom in with the plus sign, and I can then go full screen and make quality adjustments as I showed you before. I can also just move forward or backward one image at a time with the arrow keys near the image numbers. Very cool. Remember that you can turn, print, or download the image too in most cases. And there are records like these unindexed and available for almost any locality in our country, also in many other countries. So what about restricted collections, the ones with a camera and a key icon? The Family History Centers offer mostly unfettered access on-site to these. You could go there and continue working. Unfortunately, as I said, they are closed right now. Even when open, they have very limited hours, usually a couple of mornings and evenings per week and maybe one Saturday morning a month. And they're about 45 minutes to an hour away from us here in High Point. But I have good news. Last year, the Heritage Research Center applied for and received FamilySearch Affiliate Library status. Yay! It's the only FamilySearch affiliate library in the state between Raleigh and Concord. That means you can come into our facility and use most, but not all, the restricted collections, just as if you were in a family history center. And You can be anywhere in the library, even connected on your own device through our wireless router in the parking lot. Remember to set up your Family Search account before you come, though. Now, COVID complicates this. Our hours are reduced at the present time, and we require appointments right now. But we offer those pretty liberally up to 1.5 hours each day. We do require you to wear gloves if you're using our books or computers, but we provide the gloves, and you don't really need them if you bring your own device to access Family Search. And when this is all over, you can come and research all day, any day we're open. So, on that happy note, I'll stop and take your questions. I did record this presentation, but I am with you today via Zoom, so I'm looking forward to hearing from you.